2016 Lincoln for President, Part 1. 2016 Lincoln for President, Part 1, Arnold Coots.
Let's see if we can make it happen this time. What do you say? So, a show of hands of those for whom this following slide summarizes your opinion of the current Bernie, Ted, Donald, Hillary popularity contest. And it should appear right now.
It did for a second.
And it's going to happen. I just know because these little things are going across. And there we are. Show of hands. That's the popularity contest. Keep your hands up if the emotional state of the two boys in the next slide summarize your opinion of Lincoln running for president in 2016. Ah, hit the wrong button.
No.
Any takers? That's your opinion of Lincoln running for president? So, I'd like to pursue that idea a little bit. And I'd like to invite you to come along with me for the ride for two reasons. First of all, hopefully it'll shed some light on the manner in which we as a people select our leaders. And secondly, because it involves Abraham Lincoln. And I'd like you to come to the same conclusion that I came to about 6 years ago when I was finishing up my calendar-based book, Lincoln 365. Namely, Abraham Lincoln isn't nearly as dead as we might give him credit for. So, Lincoln for President, 4 parts. Lincoln's opponent, Lincoln's destruction, Lincoln's victory, and some implications for you and me. I'm going to cover the first 2 parts today, and I'd like you to invite me back to finish up the job at another time. So, who's the candidate? Well, it's not one of the 4 that I've already referenced, but it is someone, I'm sorry to say, that I have voted for, and maybe you have too. He's that fearless Demopublican, that staunch Republican, an unsung hero of the American body politic, your friend and mine, Senator Phineas T. Windbag. And I know what some of you are thinking. He's a politician, he's a crook. Well, that's just not fair, because there are whole chunks of the good senator that are genuinely patriotic. But he does work in a very hazardous environment, for he lives and moves and has his being in a world awash in money. George Washington said it as well as anybody. Few men have virtue enough to resist the highest bidder. So you should have no trouble at all imagining the following scenario. Some lobbyist oils his way up to the good senator and whispers the following in his ear. PT, he's PT to his friends, and he's got lots of friends. PT, I want you to accept this gift of a 2-week trip to the Bahamas to play golf as my gratitude for letting me shepherd my bill through the Senate. And when you get back, those pesky, boring details, my friends and I will have them all ready for your approval. And have a nice trip. And he's sure to give that approval, because PT learned a long time ago, once bought, stay bought. And in addition, because he knows that you and I just love the sound of his own voice almost as much as he does, he'll have a whole string of brand new 30-second sound bites just waiting to clog up our emotional arteries, because he never met a TV news crew he wasn't seduced by. Or, to quote his idol, President Francis Underwood, a politician would drown a litter of kittens for 5 minutes of prime time. By hell. PT had drowned a litter of kittens for 45 seconds on the 10 o'clock news. So, PT is his party's candidate for president. And the very first thing he's going to do is go out and get himself a pack of assistants, do the research, the best that money can buy. They're going to be hardworking, dedicated, creative in their own way, forward-thinking. Here, I got a picture of a couple of them. And their job? To see to it, obviously, that you and I do the right thing on election day. And they're going to take other people who want to be president and make sure that they're dealt with effectively. And how are they going to deal with Lincoln? Piece of cake. I can imagine, say, 3 of these guys being given the Lincoln file. And they show up at a strategy meeting to get the approval of their boss on 2 photographs and a cartoon. And that's probably all it'd take. We'll call them Francis Underwood wannabes, but that's kind of clunky. Let's just call them FU Mark I, FU Mark II, and FU Mark III. And FU Mark I harkens back to the days when, well, Abe was country, and he had hair that kind of went all kinds of a which way. Check a $5 bill if you don't think I'm right. Hair that went all kinds of a which way. And he's going to be lost in the machinations and the sophistication of Washington, D.C. So, he'd get this picture, by the way, no Photoshop. He's going to take this picture, and what do you think of the caption? FU Mark II is going for the killer blow. He'll remind everybody at that meeting that Lincoln suffered from chronic clinical depression, which is true, and that 20 years earlier he was on the business end of a suicide watch, which is true. Take a picture from there, which is not doctored up, no Photoshop, and just add a little bit to the caption. What do you think of these 3 words? Now he's going to get the laugh of the meeting when he points out that Lincoln never experienced a psychotic episode, but who's counting when we're having fun, right? We don't need to prove it, we just need to imply it. So, Lincoln is finished. But FU Mark III, he's going to go for some of the little mop-up things. For example, his military experience. Point out that 30 years before he was involved in an Indian skirmish. Thing lasted a couple of weeks and never heard a shot fired in anger. We're going to give the nuclear codes to this guy? I don't think so. And he was a lawyer for 17 years on a 2-man firm. He's not hiring anybody or doing anything of an executive nature. He's going to go from no executive to chief executive in one very large step. And finally, foreign policy. Didn't speak any foreign languages. Didn't travel outside the United States, even as president. But then you don't expect much of that from a hayseed lawyer from Podunk, USA, a million miles from anything international. So, we're going to wrap all that up with the following cartoon and link it together with that phrase that's become de rigueur over the last couple of election cycles. But check out the punctuation. Isn't that delicious? Lincoln's finished. Or to put it a little differently, the carcass of the Lincoln candidacy is left bleaching in the sun. The end. Well, maybe not the end. Some of you may be thinking, Lincoln has been curiously absent from this whole campaign. He hasn't done anything. And this man gifted with the wondrous, wizardly working of words has said nothing. So here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to give you a handout. I want you to check these quotes and then invite me back, because we haven't started to have fun yet, have we? I'm Toastmaster.